Hi guys, how are you today? Are you ready for new stories? I have 5 today. Let's go to the first crazy one. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment.
I, 37 male, have a daughter, 14, with my ex-wife Rachel, 37 female. Rachel was always my best friend and someone who I trusted 100%. I have a best friend named Drew, 37 male. We met in 3rd grade, and he's basically my brother at this point. Rachel knew we had a tight bond, and she always treated Drew great. 4 years ago, Drew told me he was seeing someone other than his wife. He told me not to say anything till he figured out what to do. I went home and told my wife. She was appalled, which I never really got, as her and Drew's wife were casual friends if anything. I told her not to say anything, as we needed to stay out of it. Drew was also Uncle Drew to our daughter, so we needed to be delicate. My wife said she wouldn't say anything. Well, the next day, she told Drew's wife. Long story, but they ended up separating. Me and Drew didn't speak for a year because he was so mad at me. I refused to tell Rachel anything about my life anymore because I couldn't trust her. The situation festered, and we separated with joint custody. We always keep our daughter out of the drama. My kid comes over to my place this weekend, and Drew was over. She says, "What's up, scumbags?" to Drew and his fiancée, who was also over. Long story short, Rachel and Drew's ex talked to my daughter, and then my ex-wife decided to dump everything on her. She explained why we split, what Drew did, what I did, and said Drew getting married again was a joke. My daughter is in the wedding, which is next year. She now says she doesn't want to be in it since Drew is a scumbag. Drew and his fiancée left after my daughter kept crap-talking them. I called her mom, who told me that she only told our daughter the truth after she overheard their conversation, and she felt like our daughter was old enough. I said she had no right, and that was petty and wrong for her to say those things without me present. Drew should have had the right to defend himself and explain things to our daughter if she had questions, not cling to the word of a pissed-off ex. And how just because she is now fake friends with Drew's ex-wife doesn't give her the right to open her big mouth about my brother's situation or new fiancé. I told her to grow the hell up and maybe try dating or something if she's that bored. My daughter confirmed the things that were told to her. I hung up, and we went at it again, this time her calling me a scumbag. She said I was a crappy person for covering for Drew. I said she had no idea what she was talking about. She is now saying she doesn't want Drew around anymore, to which I told her too bad, as she isn't in charge here and is obviously misguided. I then talked to my lawyer, who said I have a clear case for alienation. I told Rachel if she doesn't fix or backtrack what she told our daughter, then I plan on taking her to court. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You divorced because you basically condoned your friend's cheating. Your daughter's family life and world got torn apart because you condoned your friend's cheating. Parent of the year you are not. You're the a-hole. First off, I have no idea how this will go for you legally, since she is at an age where she can testify to a judge for what she wants, at least where I live, and if not, she is pretty close to the age requirement for this. Also, your ex is not alienating her. Your daughter is 14. She can easily grasp the understanding of this situation. Secondly, your ex opened her mouth because her husband, the father of her child, and so-called best friend, told her that he agreed and stood with his cheating best friend. Any decent human would tell whoever was being cheated on what was happening. Also, by you telling her not to tell others would make anyone think, hey, my own partner is cheated, told his best friend, and lied to me. Thirdly, you not telling your wife anything after she had the courage to be a stand-up person and tell Drew's ex what was happening is your fault. You could have talked to her and told her things, but you were so biased and deluded that you refused to acknowledge that Drew was a bad person and was hurting someone. Finally, your daughter's whole world got ducked up by Drew with the divorce, and everything stemming from him wanting to get his junk wet, which you are prioritizing above your child. Why on earth do you think she would be all smiles around Drew after learning everything? You're deluded. You're the a-hole. Why would you even defend your friend who was cheating on his wife? Your wife did good by telling his wife. At least she's not with him anymore. And as bringing your ex to justice, the judge will literally laugh at you. I don't even care about what your lawyer said. Cheaters deserve nothing, even those who defend them. My 31 male, wife's 29 female, father unexpectedly and tragically died back in 2020. He was deeply loved by his family and friends, and hundreds of people mourned his loss. His absolute favorite holiday was Christmas. He was responsible for bringing the Christmas spirit to the family each year. Because of this, his absence has been painfully noticed during the past 3 Christmases and has caused my wife's family extreme mental anguish. Therefore, my in-laws recently decided they would leave their cold home during Christmas of 2023 and spend a week in the Caribbean to forget their troubles. My in-laws really like my company, and I've spent the past 7 Christmases with them. I have been invited to join them on this trip, but I am a firefighter, EMT, and it is impossible for me to leave my job for 8 days during Christmas. It will likely always be impossible for me to do such a big trip during the holidays until I retire. My in-laws understand and are saddened that I can't get off work, but have decided to still go on vacation without me. I believe the vacation is a bad idea. It seems as though they're running away from their grief instead of dealing with it in a healthy way, such as therapy, which so far all have refused to participate in. I fear they'll still be miserable and sad on Christmas, but with a change of scenery. I originally tried to be understanding of this trip, but a very close friend, 31 female of mine, said that their leaving me behind was ducked up, which caused me to think a lot more about it. After a few weeks, I finally told my wife that although I knew she was trying to help her mother escape her sorrows, I felt somewhat abandoned and angry since she knew I would never be able to join her on this trip in the first place. I also told her that I felt that this trip was completely in vain and would not achieve any desired results. I asked if there could be a compromise, or if the Caribbean really was the only way to cure this sadness. I was told that I should be more supportive, that this trip is just a one-time thing, and that there was no alternative solution to the problem. I said that I don't like that answer, but was told that this was just the way things are, and there's nothing more that can be done. I should point out that I can, and likely will, spend Christmas with a very close friend and my father's family who all live nearby, so it's not like I'll be left entirely alone for the holidays. However, it's still a bummer to be left behind by my wife on Christmas for a non-urgent reason. I also worry that this could turn into a tradition, and that my wife might choose to leave the country each year, leaving me behind every Christmas for the next 25 years until I retire. I don't feel like I have any way to fix this problem, and I have no way to fight it except to say please don't. I also feel like a real a-hole for trying to stop my wife from trying to take care of her family's 3+ years of emotional trauma. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. Your friend needs to butt out. You should be happy your wife can celebrate her father with the trip this year. If it starts to become a yearly thing, you can cross that bridge when you come to it. You're the a-hole. This isn't about OP. This isn't something wife and family are doing to OP as a way of punishing or disrespecting them. They're trying out a fun vacation and change of scenery to attempt to lighten up what has become a dark time of year. OP, don't be a Grinch because your work situation doesn't allow you to join in the fun of this particular trip. It is a huge leap to assume at this point it will become a yearly tradition. In the event it does continue, and wife continues to leave knowing how you feel and without taking similar time to vacation with you, this becomes a different story. If, big if, that comes to pass, the ruling changes. Additional a-hole points to the friend making comments to set off OP. I'm probably jaded from reading the sub too much, but I kinda wonder about ulterior motives. You're the a-hole. Who crowned you king on how to grieve? You literally cannot attend and want to keep your wife home instead of bonding and supporting family, and herself. Research directs grieving people to create different experiences during a particular holiday, month, event, strongly connected to the deceased. It's a grief spike. Yes, they still will be sad. They don't have to go to therapy to appease you. Life is a journey, and you don't get the big picture. Your job eliminates your participation. So embrace this reality instead of accusing others of not doing X to get over grief. My parents split when I was 8 and my brother Harrison was 5. My mom didn't want to share custody. She's explained her reasons to me, but I still don't fully understand her perspective. The point is, I've lived with my dad, and my mom visits us occasionally, but I haven't had any real contact with Harrison since he was a kindergartner. In our bi-monthly phone calls, Mom has always insisted that everything was fine. Well, for the first time, Mom brought Harrison to visit me and my dad, and it became obvious to me and my dad that everything has not been fine for the past 8 years. Harrison is severely attached to video games. If he's asked to get off the video games or something else he doesn't like, he'll scream at my mom and show her the finger. He failed most of his classes this year because he barely turned in any of his homework. Harrison's school made an offer to my mom that if Harrison did summer school, it would be all online without any live lessons, meetings, so entirely at Harrison's pace. Then they would pass him and would be able to graduate from 8th grade to high school in August. The issue is that my mom says she can't force Harrison to do his schoolwork. She also said that she can't handle Harrison anymore in general because he's a big kid and is still growing. My mom says she wants poor Harrison to live with me and my dad for the summer so that my dad can hopefully get Harrison to start listening to her. My dad told her he doesn't want to. Harrison may be my brother, but I also don't want him living with us. I don't want to have to suddenly share my room with Harrison or not be able to have friends over anymore because Harrison will be screaming and throwing fits. Plus, my dad works full-time, and I'd probably be the one having to hover over Harrison and fight with him over doing his schoolwork. During a phone call a few days ago, my mom begged me to try and change my dad's mind because she says that I am the only one who would be able to convince him. I told my mom that I love her, but that Harrison is a mess that she made, and therefore she is the one who has to deal with him. I don't want my summer ruined by having to basically be Harrison's babysitter and deal with him throwing fits 24/7. Also, Harrison is a big kid, but he's still 13. She could just sell his video games and block all non-school related sites on his computer, and there's literally nothing he'd be able to do about it. I talked about this with my best friend Tristan, but Tristan said he sympathizes a lot with my mom because he also has a brother like Harrison. Except Tristan's has a diagnosed mental disorder, and his issues aren't because of the way he's been parented. Tristan said that just removing the video games isn't as easy as I'm making it out to be, and that putting up with Harrison's fits 24/7 is what my mom's done for the past 8 years, so I could at least give up one summer out of love to try and help her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your mom just wants to make her own life easier by putting the burden on you and your dad. She needs to step up, admit that she's failing Harrison, and get both of them professional help. Sending him to your dad won't help because he doesn't see either of you as an authority figure. Not the a-hole. You would be the most impacted here, and you are not responsible for the choices your mom made. She made the situation, and it's time for her to step up. Not the a-hole. It isn't your job to clean up your mother's mess. And even if your dad did step in and was effective, what do you think will happen when mom takes over again? Mom needs a parenting class, and both she and your brother could use help by a social worker or other professional. Your brother may also benefit from addiction counseling. Bottom line, this situation does not seem like it can be resolved without hard work from mom and brother. I, 31 female, have been married to husband, 40 male, for 4 years now, and have a 4-month-old together. My husband had 6 kids, ages 6, 8, 9, 12, 14, and 15, from a previous marriage, which I had no problem with when I met him. Within the 4 years, there have been many problems with his kids and his meddling ex-wife. They come to stay with us during the holidays, which is nice. We do fun things together, or just hang out at the house, but sometimes can get a bit much. They don't tidy up after themselves, leaving clothes and rubbish around the house, and cause a fuss when asked to clean up. My husband has told me to not ask them to clean up after themselves, because they are not here to do housework. I am the one that always cooks and cleans up after them while he sits around doing nothing. The last time they came, I asked them all what they wanted to eat twice, and I got no response. So I told them there's food in the fridge and to warm it if they want. I asked the 6-year-old what she would like. As I went into the kitchen to prepare her food, my husband comes storming at me telling me how horrible I am to tell them to warm up their own food. As I was trying to explain to him that they ignored me, he continued to shout at me telling me to leave him alone. Naturally, I left him alone and went to check on my 4-month-old and stayed in my room for the rest of the day. The next day, the oldest children are up cooking eggs for their siblings. They are clearly capable of caring for themselves. There's always a fuss whenever they come over, and I've reached my limit. I'm exhausted from doing all the housework all the time, with no help, and now I have a baby to care for also. The pressure is just too much. My husband and I have now not spoken for several days, as I refuse to apologize for what happened, because I believe I have no reason to. I have stayed out of their way and focused on my baby only. I no longer want to be here when they come, as it's so exhausting and really affects my marriage. I've not voiced this to my husband yet, as I know he will be annoyed by this and not understand. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but I think you can see why he is divorced. Do you really want to be a maid for 6 kids that are there while your husband sits around doing nothing for them? You should be allowed to ask them to tidy up after themselves and ask if they want food with a response. Might be time to start thinking about couples therapy because his attitude is not good. Not the a-hole, but it sounds like you two need to have a big sit down. And be prepared for things not to go your way and to get a divorce. I don't understand why you would stay with him when he treats you like a slave. Not the a-hole, but I think it's weird that your solution is not wanting to be around your stepkids anymore, when it's your husband who is the raging a-hole. My 29 male, sister, 34 female, got married 1 month ago. My ex, 27 female, was at the wedding because she's my sister's best friend. My wife, 24 female, couldn't come because her mom was at the hospital and she wanted to be near if anything bad happened. I obviously asked her if she was okay with me going alone, and she said she was. The wedding was a 5 hours drive, and I didn't want to drive on my own for that long, so my sister suggested I drive with my ex because, in her case, she had no ride to the wedding. I agreed, but didn't tell my wife because I knew she was already stressed about her mom and didn't want to add to that. However, my mom accidentally let the information slip in a conversation about my sister's wedding. My wife didn't say anything in front of my family, but I could tell she was mad. When we got in the car, she immediately asked me why I didn't tell her. I said I didn't want to stress her more than she already was about her mom, and it wasn't a big deal. It isn't like we attended the wedding together. We drove in the same car to the avenue. She didn't accept my excuse and said I should have informed her regardless of what was happening with her mom, and she felt betrayed. I told her she had no reason to feel betrayed because it's not like something further than driving together happened. She still said I was an a-hole for not telling her and making sure she'd be okay with it. My friends are understanding both sides, why I didn't tell her and why my wife is mad about it. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole, deciding not to tell her. You knew she would not be comfortable with it. Even if you didn't cheat with your ex, that sneaky behavior made you untrustworthy. You're the a-hole. By not being upfront about it and her finding out due to a slip, you created a scenario where she is justified in doubting whether or not you are trustworthy. Hiding something innocent means you definitely hide something shady. You're the a-hole. Typical narcissistic gaslighting. I didn't tell you I did something wrong, something that would hurt you, because I didn't want you to be more stressed. The nerve on these people.